What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Today, our featured knife is from Kershaw. This is an exciting new product, one that we've been waiting for all year. And no, it's not the copper Natrix. It's even more exciting because this is an American-made product, and we're always extremely happy to see a new high-quality American-made product from Kershaw. What we've got here is the Kershaw 7777. That's the Quad 7, affectionately known and named the Bareknuckle. And this is a fabulous knife, guys. I know I don't have the first review up for this. You've seen a few from reputable reviewers, and everybody is loving this knife. The design is excellent, guys. Probably I'm going to put in the title of this video that this is quite possibly the perfect Kershaw Natrix. And while it is called the Bareknuckle, it is in the 7 series of the Natrix family, which are sort of, brought down from the zero tolerance 700 models also. So, this is the Kershaw Bareknuckle. Take a look at this. It is a wonderful looking knife. It is understated and sort of industrial looking. It's just tight and crisp, and it's beautiful, guys. It's an attractive knife. It is quite possibly the perfect knife in the Natrix family. So, as always, let us go ahead and knock a few things out. And first say, I picked this knife up at Blade HQ. Go over to Blade HQ. I believe they've still got them in stock, and their price is $69.95, which is, I think, is a very fair price for this American-made knife. It is just very well done, guys, and we're going to take a closer look at that during the review. Now, we'll set this down. We will bring out the Kershaw packaging here, and it's a red and black Kershaw box. You can see right here, let's get that to focus, Bareknuckle 7777, and on the other end, made in USA. Always happy to see that. Kudos to Kershaw for bringing us another excellent American-made product. And you know what? I can't get over how much I like this knife, even compared to the other Natrix models, the actual Natrix models, which I like the look of, and, hit or miss sort of on the quality. The newer KVT pivot Natrixes, Natri, are pretty nice. I've got the carbon fiber with the slate blue G10, and I really love the look at that, the look of that knife. But this knife is definitely a step up. Now, let's go ahead and knock some numbers out here. We'll get the specs out of the way. This is, it's a EDC size knife. You're looking at a 3.5 inch blade, and that's slightly less than 9 centimeters. Blade stock thickness is 120 thousandths of an inch, or about 3 millimeters. The blade width at the widest, 1.15 inches, or 29 millimeters. Your handle length, 4 5/8 of an inch, or about 11.5 centimeters. Handle thickness is 452 thousandths of an inch, or 11.5 millimeters. The handle width at the widest point at the pivot is 1.23 inches, or 31.4 millimeters. The close length, not a lot wider than that, but I did include the flipper tab, so we're at 1.43 inches and 36.5 millimeters. Overall length, 8 1/8 of an inch, or 20.5 centimeters. Our stop pin diameter, 123 thousandths of an inch, or 3.12 millimeters. Behind the edge thickness, the grind on this is pretty decent, guys. It's a flat sort of saber type of grind, but it's fairly high. So you do get with that 120 thousandths of blade stock thickness, a fairly thin edge. I hit this one in 3 spots, and it went between, say, 21 thousandths and 23 thousandths of an inch, and that's about 0.55 millimeters. The handle to blade ratio, excellent at 0.75, and the weight, a very lightweight, 3.56 ounces or 101 grams. And just like I said, those specs place this knife just slap right dab in the sweet spot for most people who are into EDC as far as an EDC knife goes. That 3.5 inch blade length and that 3.5 ounce, basically 3.5 ounce carry weight. You know what? That's an ounce per inch of blade length, and that's a good ratio right there. Now let's get into materials. For your blade steel, we are in Sandvik's 14C28N. Sandvik is a Swedish company. 14C28N is an upper mid-grade sort of fine-grained stainless steel. It's a very interesting steel to me. Sandvik steels are very refined and fine-grained. Now, they are not quite as fine-grained as a CPM type of steel, but they are very fine-grained, very well-done steels. And this is an interesting steel. It doesn't have an extremely high carbon content that you would equate with being able to harden the steel to a high hardness level. What it does have is an addition of a nitrogen. And what nitrogen does, if I understand correctly, is it enables you to harden a blade a little harder than you would think with its carbon content. The way it does that is it keeps the chromium from taking up the carbon. The nitrogen aids the chromium in corrosion resistance, and it frees up a little bit more of that carbon for hardenability. So what it does is it increases its ability to be hardened, but it also sort of boosts the benefits of the chromium in that you get some toughness from the chromium, and then you get the corrosion resistance. So what you get out of this steel is sort of an even type of performance. You've got good edge retention and wear resistance, good toughness and impact resistance, and good corrosion resistance. And Sandvik actually recommends the hardening of this in the Rockwell range of 55 to 62. That's an extremely wide range. But from what I understand, most of the time we're going to see that in the 58 to 60 Rockwell range. And to me, that's a little higher than I would expect out of a steel that has a carbon content of 0.62%. And that's the benefit of adding the nitrogen into that. It frees that carbon up so they can harden that steel a little harder than you would typically see. So an excellent sort of mid-grade steel, and most people consider it to be an upper mid-grade steel. Most people are very happy with it. I think at the price range, given the sort of sliding scale that this is an American-made product and the fit and finish is so good, that I think it's an excellent steel for this price range. So very happy with that. But as with a lot of Kershaw American-made products in the last few years, we can expect to see models of this exclusives for different dealers and retailers in upgraded steels. I would not be surprised if we didn't see it in M390, an excellent, very high performance stainless. maybe some D2, and sometimes, I can't remember who the distributor is, it might be Blue Ridge that does Kershaw, that they bring in some of the carbon Damascus stuff that we've seen in a lot of the American-made products. So you can be on the lookout for all of those upgrades probably in 2019. Now, as far as handle materials, you're looking at aluminum scales, front and back. It is hard coat anodized, this sort of battleship gray, which looks so good. So good with this black hardware. It's a very subdued, sort of industrial but sophisticated look, guys. And it does have the very slightest bit of texture that you can get with hard coat anodizing. You can actually hear that if you've got some headphones on or turn up the volume, and that is just skin against that hard coat anodized finish. So there is a sense of traction there. It is not slick. Now, your small parts, you'll see on the face side here with the pivot and the small screws, they are stainless. They're in a black finish that carries through to the hardware that is showing through to the back. And then the pocket clip, which is a deep carry, right or left hand tip up pocket clip, and the subframe lock insert are in a stainless steel with a light and bright bead blast finish. So there are your materials, guys. Oh, and one more thing. I believe this backspacer is Zytail, and it is the sort of floating backspacer type look that we have come to expect in the Natrix series, you know, with the bare knuckle here. All right, fit and finish wise, let's go back to the blade. My example, guys, this is the only one that I have handled, but my example, the blade finish, the grinds, everything are pretty much perfect. I mean, it is a flat grind, a high saber grind with an extended swedge on this sort of sheep's footy edged, drop pointy, reverse tanto, pointy, stabby type of blade profile. I love this blade profile, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the finishes are excellent, guys. The grinds are crisp and even. The primary grind and the swedge grinds are even, guys. The edge grind on mine is great side to side. The point is still pointy. It's not rounded over. You do have minimal billboarding on the front with only the Kershaw name laser etched in the dark finish. You do have some moderately effective jimping here. Pretty well done. And then on the back, you're going to see the typical Kershaw markings, the Chi USA 777 American flag, signifying again that it is American made. So it's fairly subtle, guys. It's not taking up a lot of space on the front or the back. Just an excellent job as far as the fit and finish of the blade goes. Now onto the handle. The machining on this is much crisper than any of the Natrix models that I have seen. That includes the G10 models and the recent Natrix Mini in copper. Look at how crisp this machining is. The edges on it just so very well done. And the anodizing is just even and thick and spot free, guys. It looks so high quality compared to the import Natrix models, which don't look bad for what they are. This knife just looks better. Again, all this black hardware is nice even finish. Now, one thing I would like to point out, and I'm going to bring in an import Natrix here, I want to show the difference in this these parts on the back. Now you can see this basically the same pocket clip design. It is slightly different, but it's basically the same. But where your laser etch logo on the import, you are embossed, stamped on the USA made bare knuckle. And the biggest thing to me as far as the quality of the fit and finish is on the import model. Now, I do not think that this subframe piece is a piece of stamped steel. I think it is machined. But look at the difference in the lines, the edge finishes, the radiuses on the edge. Look at how crisp everything looks on this American-made bare knuckle compared to the Chinese-made carbon fiber Natrix. This really, to me, it looks like a stamped piece to me, even though it may not be. This straight up looks like a precision machine piece, and the finish is much more attractive. So as far as the fit and finish in the handle, guys, I mean everything. Even look at this backspacer. I hope that's focused. There's not really any molding lines that you see on that. And again, it's that sort of free floaty sort of look to it. You know, the pocket clip looks great, guys. I mean, love it or hate it, this pocket clip design, it's well done from a manufacturing standpoint. And guys, I don't see any fit and finish issues with anything on this knife. It is just very crisply well done, everything about it. Now, let's go to the action. I'm sure everybody is interested in that. And this American-made Kershaw Quad 7 bare knuckle is on the KVT bearing system. That is a single row stainless ball bearing pivot system. Those bearings are in phosphor bronze races, and it is fairly smooth straight out of the box. Now, my example came out of the box dry as a bone in the desert under the baking sun. Just dry, guys. I did put a couple of drops of oil on it, and you know, I've flipped this thing a couple of hundred times. I haven't had a chance to carry it much because of my work schedule, but it is very smooth. It is not drop shut smooth yet. It is shake smooth, drop shut, but it is, you know, it's thin blade stock for a lightweight blade. It was very dry. It has not been disassembled and cleaned. So I expect it feels like it's going to come around quite a bit. It does not give me the feeling that it's going to be a super drop shut guillotine type of closing, but I could care less because of one thing: the action opening this. The detent is perfect. It is perfect. I have seen many people complain that the detent is too stiff. If you even look at the lock bar when you try to open it, you can't even open it. It's like it's locked down like Fort Knox, and that is absolutely not true in my example. The detent is firm and crisp. The brake is clean. There's plenty of stored energy when you preload that and break that detent loose. The blade just flies open. It is an absolute joy to open. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is an absolute joy to open. And oh man, it just snaps open, guys. And the lockup, let's take a look at the lockup here, is probably about 30%, and it is solid as a rock. There is not even the barest perception of any radial or lateral movement there. It is solid, guys. And in the closed position, let's take a look at the centering here, and if it's not perfect, it's as perfect as it needs to be. I mean, it is, look at it, guys. That's straight down the middle. So as far as action on this knife, good gracious, guys, it is just a pleasure to open. And then I feel as far as the closing goes, you know, and I've not adjusted the pivot on this. I might be able to loosen that pivot a little and have that drop shut, but I don't feel the need for that with this knife. This knife is so pleasurable already. I want to give it a chance to come around and show me what it's all about. I want to see the personality of this knife rather than jumping in there and trying to force it into some sort of preconceived notion of what it should be. It's just hands down a pleasure, guys. All right. Now, let's go on to ergos and utility. Another area this knife shines. It just shines like a star, guys. I mean, what can I say about this blade shape? You've got pretty much continuous belly the entire length of the cutting edge. It's great, guys. While it is not a full flat grind, it is a flat grind. It is fairly high saber grind. You do have that fairly thin behind the edge thickness of 21 to 23 thousandths of an inch. So it is pretty doggone slicey for what it is. I do not think you're going to be disappointed at all. Could it have been thinner behind the edge? Well, sure, you could grind it until you could hold it up to the sun and see through it. But I don't feel like it's necessary in this knife. I don't think that super thin behind the edge is really what we need out of an EDC knife. Can we want it? Certainly, you can want whatever you want. That's what, that's a great thing about this. But I think that it really at 21 to 23 thousandths of an inch and a blade stock thickness of a 120 thousandths of an inch, that is just right in that sweet spot, the balance of slicey cutting performance and enough steel left there for wear resistance and impact resistance. Now you get a nice sharp pointy point here, and you can see it instantly catches and pierces with just about zero pressure, guys. That would stab right into something if you wanted it to. As far as the tip thickness, because of the way this is ground, it looks a lot thinner when you look at it on the show side, the face here, than it does when you turn it up. You've got quite a bit of the full blade thickness very close to the tip there, and it is not, while it is thin enough to be piercy, it is not fragile. You get a sense of that thinness from this long swedge, guys, and the way this primary grind sweeps up following the profile of the belly of the blade. You've got a slight ramp here with the jimping that is perfectly placed for the thumb. Guys, I just don't see anything really bad about this. If there was anything that I would personally change, I would have probably extended this small sharpening choil out another 1/8 of an inch. As you can see, it is not fully out past this wide, soft, sweeping plunge grind. So, you're going to get a little bit of flare at the base of the edge when you resharpen. That's, it's part of the aesthetic design. Now, as far as the ergos of the handle, I think this is the best Natrix handle so far. And yes, I know it's not a Natrix, it is the bare knuckle, but it is part of the 7 Series Natrix line. And again, I'm going to bring in a regular Natrix carbon fiber. And while this handle is not a super long compared to the regular Natrix, it is about a 1/2 inch longer, and it is narrower top to bottom than the regular Natrix. And in my medium-sized hands, it is more comfortable, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the regular Natrix, it's about the same thickness model to model. What that gives you in this wider profile is a really sort of flat and blocky type of feel. It's not bulky because it's thin, but it is sort of blocky and square feeling because it's so flat compared to the width and the thickness. Now, what you get here in this model, and while it is still thin, I think that it is a better balanced ratio between the thinness and the width. It gives it a sense of a more rounded handle, even though it's not. It's a better balance of the thickness to width in the handle, and then you get the additional length, about a ½ an inch maybe in the length, and it is just, it's a better hand feel to me. You've got this great choil here, this sort of concave dip here that your thumb just rests right in, the drop in the butt of the blade here for ergonomic curve, because your hand is not straight, it's curved. Everything is just a very ergonomic with this knife. It is great in my favored forward grip. It is comfortable in a reverse grip. You know, this is not the type of knife I would use in a draw grip. But as far as forward and reverse grip, which are my favorite grips anyway, it is just excellent, guys. So no issues there. Now, let's talk about this pocket clip, and a lot of people do not like this pocket clip design because the tip comes straight up and then it does not flatten out. And it is fairly low in this. If you will look at the height of the body of the clip compared to the tip, it still does come down a little bit. And it is a total non-issue in this knife. I can feel the clip there, but I cannot feel distinctly feel the tip of the clip. That is awesome. That is awesome. It is the best iteration of this clip that I have felt so far. And I believe that the clip is pretty much the same. It's slightly different, but because of the difference in the handle width, I think that it just makes this pocket clip feel better. And you know what? I love the look of this clip. It is compact. It fits right within this milled design on both sides of the knife. I think that is aesthetically one of the most pleasing design aspects of this knife and all of the Natrix knives. Now, let's, you know, we've talked about ergos and utility and action and fit and finish and materials, and we've given the specs and all of that, but let's talk about the subframe lock. I've seen a lot of reviews of Kershaw knives and zero tolerance knives with subframe locks where people are calling this basically a liner lock, and I disagree with that. It is a frame lock. It is totally a frame lock. If it was a liner lock, it would be a liner inside of a frame, and it is not in any respect a liner lock. It is a frame lock. It is just, instead of the frame being full and then slit, so you have a lock bar, the frame is full, there's a machine pocket on the inside, and then they take a full thickness of this lock bar and they bolt it in there. So, you know, just like you've got the full thickness on the front, you've got the full thickness on the back. It's just, this is an insert there. So what it does is it gives you the best aspects of a frame lock, while still letting Kershaw use lighter handle materials like this aluminum. They can still have a steel lock insert here, not insert, but a lock bar for steel on steel contact for a firm, solid lockup with minimal wear over time. And I think that the subframe lock, let's, you know, put the legalities aside, is one of the best things that Kershaw has ever done. I've always liked it, and I like it in this iteration. Again, we're going to take a look compared to a regular Natrix, and what we're getting here in this subframe lock is more of the design that it was originally intended for. See how the lines stay organic. This step line right here that's machined flows with the lines that are machined into the aluminum here. Now look at this. This just looks like it was stuck in there. Okay, while it does have the benefits of the subframe lock, it is not as ergonomic and pleasing a design. I mean, seriously, if you love the Natrix, and I love this Natrix, I've liked this knife, and I did a great review on it. I loved it, but this looks better. It looks more high-end in every respect. The lines, the finish, everything just looks more high-end, and that is what you're getting out of this bare knuckle. It is the best of the Natrix family so far. Even though it's not called a Natrix, it is called the bare knuckle, or the, what I like to call it, the bare knuckle. I love the bare knuckle, guys, and that's what I'm literally going to call this. If you ever see me on the street and I'm carrying this, and you ask me if you can see my bare knuckle, I'm going to say no, but you can see my bare knuckle. So, Baz on Blades is going to recommend the Kershaw 7777 bare knuckle. I'm very excited about this knife. I'm super hyped and looking forward to an M390 version of this knife. I can see myself having multiple versions of this knife, and I very seldom do that in my collection, and I'm so excited about it. I've been talking about this for 31 minutes, guys, a half an hour. I have got to shut up about this, or it'll take me 3 days to upload this video. So, Baz on Blades is going to recommend the Kershaw bare knuckle. I love this knife. I mean, you can tell, and I think you will love it too. Great materials, great fit and finish, and great action. Just, in my opinion, the best Natrix so far in the bare knuckle. As always, thank you for taking the time to view one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.